Mega Man Battle Network is a spin-off RPG series. The game takes place in a future where kids have what are known as NetNavis. You play as 5th grader Lan Hikari and his NetNavi Mega Man EXE. The internet is explorable with your NetNavi, and every imaginable device is connected to the internet and full of viruses, so it's about as actually dystopian as it sounds. Battling is done on a grid. Mega Man has his Buster, but you can also send him special actions to perform known as battle chips, which can be equated to cards. When I was young, I was a big fan of the Battle Network series. I was looking into streaming the games on G2B, but I was mixed on whether or not I should play the first game. The first game really didn't age well and is kinda hard to want to replay. I think I may tackle the whole series in the future, but for today, I just wanted to focus on the first game. I think beforehand, for anyone interested in starting the series, I would have said to just skip this one. And I was thinking that I should just start with 2, but then I stumbled onto something special. But first, let's start with the original. Mega Man Battle Network originally released in 2001 on the Game Boy Advance. The US and Europe localization saw very minor changes compared to later games in the series that did have things like signs and stuff changed from Japanese to English. The first game's changes are completely negligible. Now, the port most people may be aware of is the Wii U port released in 2014. Actually, all of the Battle Network games are on the Wii U Virtual Console, and just like the localization, the later games in the series see more changes with their Wii U ports except for the first Battle Network game. For example, when you start one of the later titles on the Wii U, you are automatically given all of the event chips. Battle Network 1 has one event chip, but you're not given it. The Wii U version seems to have a lower gamma setting for some reason, though this is a thing with a number of Wii U Virtual Console titles. And because the Wii U Virtual Console is emulation, the link functions with battling and trading are lost. And that basically covers all of the Wii U port differences. Now, what I had discovered was that in 2009, there was a DS remake of the first Battle Network game that was exclusive to Japan. It was known as Rockman EXE Operate Shooting Star. This game released in Japan in November 2009. This game was originally announced to be a crossover between Mega Man Star Force and Mega Man Battle Network. Later on, though, it was revealed to be a remake of the first Battle Network game. To some, that was pretty disappointing when you were expecting a real full crossover game, but nonetheless, we've got an updated version of the first Battle Network game. Let's start with covering the crossover content that was added. On the main menu, you'll find a Star Force prologue. Mega Man Star Force was a successor series to Battle Network with really drastic changes to the series formula, and the prologue explains the connection between the series pretty well. In this version, you can also play as Star Force Mega Man, who's a bit different than Mega Man EXE. He has a shield, can lock onto enemies from a distance, and the Buster auto charges. And because of this, the armor system of the original game was removed. There's a pretty short story chapter to play through, along with a fight with Mega Man Star Force and Clockman, who was a fan contest winner design. And with all this comes 5 new battle chips and 2 program advances. New to the game is also the Star Coliseum, which is primarily a multiplayer mode, although it does require download play and that isn't translated. You can still play it single player though. Now, I personally didn't like Star Force, so what puts this version above all else? We'll start with the massive quality of life improvements. Most come from the changes that the series underwent between Battle Networks 2 to 6. The improvements include the Star Wild chips. By default, you run instead of having to hold B all the time. Jack-in sequences can be skipped. Select clears your folder of chips, and you can now sort your chips as opposed to manually moving every single one and then sifting through an unorganized mess. You can escape from battle without a chip designed for escaping. Select in battle lets you see the field. The chip code is right on the selection screen now, and on top of that, chips you can't select are grayed out. Script changes and fixes were made. The virtual busting machine in Lan's dad's PC now only gives you enemies from the upcoming dungeon instead of random enemies, and the random encounter rate was decreased. As far as aesthetic changes go, the PET interface and UI were updated, and now Mega Man is shown on the bottom DS screen. An intro was added, mugshots were updated, some light voice acting was added, and audio quality in general is higher. And last but not least, a mini-map. Thank God, this alone probably is enough reason to play this version over the GBA version. Just look at Internet Area 2, this place was a mess. And now we have the gameplay changes. First off, there were a myriad of bug fixes, although there was one bug that was introduced. In Undernet Area 10, you can't find 10k Zennies anymore. The max you can find is 30. You can still find 10k in the other areas though. The chip drop rate has changed. The best chips can now drop at Buster Rank 8, and Buster Rank S will always drop a chip, no chance of Zenny, as opposed to never being guaranteed the chip. And also, as a little Easter egg, Gutsman's Star is a hidden chip you can get on the title screen via a sequence of inputs. Many of the chips were reworked. Some had code changes, there were adjustments to what they can do, and they had altered damage values. The 10 non-Navi chip limit is brought down to 5 chips, and there's still a limit of 5 Navi chips, but now you can't have duplicates. And also, the max amount of chips you can now display in battle is 10 instead of 15. A few boss battles such as Sharkman and Base had adjustments made to them, both buffing and nerfing them, and probably the biggest factor in replayability and just playability, dungeons see big changes that make them way more bearable. In the Waterworks dungeon in Area 5, where you have to solve the large puzzle, enemy encounters are disabled. And the Power Plant dungeon now has lights that show the paths every once in a while, and batteries have unlimited charge when doing the puzzles instead of having a finite amount of energy before you have to recharge them. Now the catch of this DS remake is that it never got a Western release. Thankfully though, you may have noticed throughout this video, there is a fan-made English patch, introducing the Rockman EXE Operate Shooting Star translation project by these members of the Rockman EXE Zone community. All of the text and graphics were translated. The Japanese script changes and fixes I mentioned earlier were ported to the English version, and along with corrections made to the original localization, changes were also made to make the game align more consistently with other Battle Network games. This fan translation is why I wanted to make this video. This was a project I really wanted to help promote, as it means a lot for a series I dearly loved as a kid. If you're looking to play the Battle Network games in order and have the means to play the English patched version of the DS remake, I would highly recommend it over the GBA version. I'll still say though that even with these changes, Battle Network 1 doesn't compare to the later games. Fundamentally, it's their first attempt, and things such as customization, battleships, puzzles, dungeons, story, bosses, and music are improved in later games, but by all means, Battle Network 1 is still a pretty playable beginning to the series thanks to this DS port. As I've said before, I probably will want to tackle the rest of the series in time. I just wanted to give the first game with this fan project some spotlight and not have an obscenely long video covering all 6 games. So let me know if you've played this game before and how much these changes would have meant to you when you originally played it. And until next time, thank you for watching.